You're watching Taste of Victory.
Welcome back, everybody. It has been an exciting and busy week for the Digimon TCG competitive scene because we have had 2-3 weeks now of competitive Bandai partnered regional events online and in person. It's amazing, and there's still more to come in the coming weeks. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything that has been happening the past couple of weeks to see if we get an idea of what is going on in the meta. Let's start off 2 weeks ago first with the Top Cut regional tournament. This was webcam. The list says 500 players, so it was online, but we also have some in-person ones to look to. As always, thank you to all the tournament organizers for hosting this, and thank you to Eggman for providing these great compilations of data. Their channel is linked in the description below on all of these spreadsheets, which are in the description, so go ahead and give them a shout out. Looking 2 weeks ago, we see that the winner of the Top Cut tournament was actually Mastermind. So Mastermind is a deck that a lot of people were worried about without mulligans once we found out they weren't going to be in the regional scenes. But we see here, this is the only one 2 weeks ago that was in top 16. Not top 8, this is the entirety of top 16. So it does kind of seem that Mastermind is an uphill battle against itself without mulligans. We're going to see in a second in some of these other tournaments, they had more representation, but only one more. It only ends up getting 2 out of top 16 in the later weeks. So it does seem like Mastermind's biggest enemy is itself, running all these weird ratios that you see here. This guy is literally only running, 6 rookies here? That's amazing. Yes, Garomon kind of makes up for that by its own effect, but it's still a really risky ratio. This is Ying, who does have a YouTube, I think it's called A Normal Human, something like that, but shout out to them. They're a great friend and regular in the Huang Zero Discord. But we see here that they have a pretty standard list outside of maybe the Chimeramon, which is something we don't see often, and the Creepymon. Creepymon is a fantastic deck in this meta because you have, first of all, it helps you win the mirror because these games usually go long, but then also against the yellow hybrid matchup because they play a grind game and they draw through a lot, they recover a lot. So once they get low on deck count, you go into Creepymon and you just mill them out for whatever's left, and they can't win next turn because you lose when you can't draw from deck out. So that is an amazing tech that Ying put into his list, and especially with the Chimeramon to give it quick, easy access to it in a singular turn. We see his eggs down there, so it's pretty interesting. After that, we go back and we see the Black War Greymon got second. Top Cut's webcam event was pretty crazy with these amazing fan favorites finally winning. There's a lot of excitement for Black War Greymon, so it's awesome to see, especially since Lychee commented on my previous meta update. He made top 32 and he said he was going for a top 16 at least finish. He was gonna make it happen with Black War Greymon, so congrats to you, man. Hats off, that is an amazing achievement. We see here that it is pretty different, I believe, from a standard build, because we see here the Security Greymon. So this is Geo Greymon from the Gallantmon starter deck, and what it does, it plays itself out of security, but also on play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less. If you look at Imperial Dramon's cards, X-Vmon and Stingmon are exactly 4000 DP, and since Imperial Dramon is usually ending its boards on Dragon Mode, playing those guys out, or hoping they survive to be able to DNA next turn, if they haven't gotten to Imperial Dramon yet, this perfectly hits those. So this stops their combo mid-security check, this stops them from even getting to the combo next turn if you just want to hard slam it from 3 memory. It's a really smart tech choice, and I really like that we see that here. Good meta call by them for sure. But other than that, we do have the Chimeramon, which helps go into quickly. We have the War Greymon from X1 for the blitzing, and we have Ultimate Flare. A lot of people have been running Dark Gaia Forces because that's what's in the archetype. But this card is really good to answer wide boards and to stop single stack decks, which could hurt the entirety of Imperial Dramon pretty hard, so that's a really good tech choice right there. And then of course the Blitz and the Coralmon as your egg, so really good build there to take advantage of what's in the meta. I like that. And it works for them, second place, amazing. After that, we got some yellow hybrid representation, and it's not purple yellow hybrid, it doesn't say at least, it seems to be pure yellow hybrid. And from looking at this list, this is, the one we clicked on was 5th place from Joshua. And it seems to be a pretty standard list, really interesting with the mixed eggs there between Upa and Cupid. The 2 Susanomons, which is becoming more and more standard because people are preparing for the mirror, and that really gives you an edge of the mirror. And then we have win rate for the Susano. That is not standard. It's a pretty interesting tech, and I mean, it looks like it took them pretty far. But other than that, Yellow Hybrid's taking up the bulk of top 8 because making it 4 of top 8, literally half of it, which is pretty impressive because it is a good counter to the meta decks, expected meta decks anyways. But we see Mastermind and Black War Greymon ended up taking the top spots. We see at 7th place, Dan Vang, the first highest placing Imperial Dramon list now that we have starter decks. So Dan Vang loves Imperial Dramon. He was placing with it back in 1.5 even, so it only makes sense. He has the 1 Nidhogg tech, but I've seen Dan Vang talk about this, and he says he actually kind of regrets the decision. I'm assuming it didn't come up that much, which is pretty surprising because a lot of the mirrors, you know, they attack so much and just leave their guys suspended because of that. It seems like it would be really good into the mirror, because other than that, this seems like a very standard list with the right ratios and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting they had that one spicy tech that they kind of like may not even play going forward, but he was the highest placing at 7th. Then we have back into yellow hybrids, and then we go back into the rest of the top 16. We have a Lord Nightmon that ended up taking this is 10th place from Abad Flores. Congratulations to them. And this, like, I don't see a single, I believe, BT8 card in here. It's just straight up Lord Nightmon. Electric Rush is the only thing from BT7, I think, that's remotely new. That's cool. That's really amazing. Congrats to them for finishing with this deck. So Lord Nightmon is definitely still a deck that can put in the work if you know how to answer the meta and you know how to pilot it. Congratulations. Awesome to see that in top 16. We have Ancient Greymon, because what we talked about previously before, it kind of just plays its own game of solitaire, you know, kind of just like drawing in the raising area until it can come out in OTK once it's seen all its pieces. And this does look pretty standard to the stuff we've seen before. So that's pretty awesome to see it's still doing well, even with starter decks introduced. After that, we move on to, so this is from oldest to newest. So we're going to go to the PPG Pro Play Games Origin in-person regional. This was in Ohio. I believe it was a multi-day event, and this was a Thursday tournament. So this one was won by Yellow Armadillomon Hybrids. That is insane. I believe this was Nighthawk, listed here as Ian Peterson, who won with this list. So from what I've seen him explaining his list, the Armadillomon are actually more or less kind of just like some psychological warfare thing. Because you have these guys here, so you have people letting their guard down thinking that it's just going to be like an armor deck, but yellow base, you know, with some Marinemon or Digimon or something. And then you start putting out their, your yellow hybrids, you know, you start evolving over your tamers, and they're like, wait, what? They're just completely confused. And like, they've been playing into a different playstyle than expected, so they're probably playing into your Shaco, they're probably playing into all of your Megas or your removal and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting to see that that was the reason they went for. Also, as well, Armadillo is another search option, which is good. 4,000 DP on the vanilla, lets you swing over stuff, trade with stuff. Pretty nice options there. And then you got typical otherwise package there, the 1 TK because it's such a good tamer. You got the 1 blinded rate to push for games, Susano because it's kind of necessary in these builds. And then we have to top in a Kazuchi War Greymon, and like it's kind of like a toolbox top, which is pretty amazing. Kazuchi gives you a lot of gasoline to keep going into the late game by recovering you back up. War Greymon helps you be aggressive and get extra swings plus removal. And then Serafimon kind of helps you stall out game with a bunch of recovery to make sure you can outlast your opponent. Other than that, we see Fremon, which is a pretty interesting egg choice. I believe this is in BT8, but I don't even know what it does. Your turn, when you have 3 or more security cards, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP. Origins was a really interesting regional, because after that, we have BL Star in second, which we just saw the profile. Click in the top right if you want to see that list. And then we have another one in third. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other one from Trey, since we do have the BL Star second place profile up on the channel. See what differs here. We see the analogs, lots of analogs there. We see the Sunomon instead of the Pagumon that Philip was running. But other than that, seems like pretty standard ratios here. The one Ogremon to be a little bit more aggressive and get more stuff in the trash. Really cool to see that, because it does have a lot of good options. You know, once you like nail bone in the late game, it's really hard for yellow hybrids to be able to rapid your board. You know, you just keep bringing it back. You have deadly security. It makes it kind of difficult for Imperialmon to swing. There's a lot of good anti-meta options there, which makes BL Starmon a pretty solid choice, seeing that we took 2 spots in top 8. Here we see that Mastermind is back in top 8, just barely at 7th from Andy Zhang, and then another one in 13th. So this one was 110 players, which is still an impressive finish for those decks. We do see that it's only gone up 1 spot compared to previously where it was 1 in top 16 and now it's 2 top 16. So it does seem still that Mastermind's kind of its own worst enemy, but it is the 3rd most represented at least. After that, we have Imperialmon and Yellow Hybrids taking up a lot of the top spots. The highest placing Imperialmon list was 8th place, just barely making it into top 8. So it kind of seems like a similar story to Mastermind, where it's really piece reliant. A lot of people, I've seen it compared to Jessmon, where it's just like, yeah, it's explosive, but it's really piece reliant as well. Here we see the Shivamon tech. That's pretty crazy to stop the cheeky options to destroy you. Like, I'm guessing like Chaos Degrade if you're worried about that matchup, to stop Mastermind from blowing away your fighter mode. But other than that, pretty standard. Lots of Imperialmon, lots of Yellow Hybrid. Next up, we have Core TCG, the next online webcam regional, which was again 500 people. This one has blue hybrids taking it. So people were really excited to get away from the BT7 meta, but it looks like it's trying to drag us back in right here with blue hybrids topping it. Congratulations to Jose Salas. He did fantastic. You have the Kyaromon instead of the Upamon, because I guess in this format there is a lot less like searchers if you're not playing against like Imperialmon or Mastid. So having the one that you could trigger yourself rather than relying on your opponent with Upamon, it makes more sense sense in this format. So I like that egg call for sure. Other than that, completely standard blue hybrid list with the 2 Innocence Blizzards being the only new card, which we saw in, I believe, another one that topped like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Another blue hybrid list. Innocence Blizzard is a fantastic addition from this format. So that's really nice to see that there. Because these decks are still good, like, don't get it wrong. I think Blue Hybrid took more of a hit just by the meta decks than Yellow Hybrid did, but it's still a good deck, you know, if you know how to play around the meta decks. Because the problem with hybrids is they are just way too memory efficient. Other decks cannot cheat levels up that efficiently, even with the warp effects, because the warp effects are fairly balanced. Like that Guillemon starter deck, it's like 4 to Digivolve into the Gallants, and then you have to be behind, you know, your opponent has to have a Mega out already on the field. So like those are really balanced, the warp effects. Same with Beelzemon from BTU, I think it's 1.5 or 1.0. While as these guys, they have their value from their tamers. The tamers are already doing something amazingly valuable once you play them, and then they get to have even more utility by being a level skip and being reduced cost for your tamers when they digivolve over them, giving them bonus effects, etc, etc. So yeah, I don't know what Bandai's gonna have to do. I guess it's fine if it's just hanging around, taking a couple like tier 2 spots by getting a win here or there. But as we see in Japan, Yellow Hybrids is still very dominant, or at the very least very represented, not necessarily dominant. I don't think that's an accurate statement to say. But yeah, I don't know, maybe, I think it's just the efficiency. You would have to like errata them, I think even. I don't know how much a ban list would actually help. We got Dan Vang again. Dan Vang is a fiend. My man is grinding these tournaments, 2nd place. And as you see here, we see the progress here. He did take out the Nidhogg because he said earlier he did not end up liking it. We have the 1 Magna, which I really do like, although at the cost of a hybrid for lethal, that's a very interesting decision. I was debating going for that same thing, and I think it's really valuable, especially in the mirror. I think if you want something to mess up the mirror, Magnamon is definitely it, because it can't be bottom decked by Pyldramon. If you have even 1 armor in trash, it makes your Pyldramon turn so annoying. It's a really good armor mirror tech. But yeah, otherwise pretty standard, really fantastic build. Congratulations, we've got Kevin Besta with yellow-purple security control. So I do believe this is KVN Kevin, so who's topped a bunch in the past with security control. It's his favorite deck ever. We see here we have the Patamon promo, Magnamon. So it's like Junomon there. So Junomon's really valuable to be able to recycle stuff and be able to get stuff back over and over again. And this is truly security control. A lot of people will call Yellow Hybrid security control or akin into it, but like it's really not. It's different enough where it's kind of just like a really grindy control deck. Well, this is just straight up security control. Look at how many options are here. You even have the 4 Holy Wave back with a vengeance. That's crazy to me. So like this is definitely a return to tradition here. And that got, what was that? 3rd place, which is really amazing. I do believe there was another finish with it. I don't know if it was here or like in top 32 or something like that, or maybe it was another tournament in the UK, I believe. But after that, we have Imperialtramon once again in the top 4 through 6. Then we got blue hybrids again, 7 and 8. A lot of blue hybrids top, not just 1, but we got 3 within top 8, not just top 16. That's a huge chunk of it, man. Hybrids are really, really good. Like I was saying, it's just that efficiency that they offer is just crazy, you know? So we see that this one is a Magna Garurumon build as opposed to what we saw earlier. So that's interesting that both variations are doing fantastic. We see Mastermind making a way again, and each week it's gotten, so that's something I want to talk about. There was a lot of worry about Mastermind, but as we see here, we have data to see each week, every couple of days between the events, we are seeing more and more Mastermind representation. Because this deck is weird. Let's look at the 9th place by Caden. So this is, wow, we got the Metal Garurumon tech. That's even weirder. But look at the ratios. This is incredibly weird compared to traditional Digimon deck lists. The reason for that is because of the DNA Digivolution requirements at a mega level. That's not something you see too often in the game. So people don't know how to build for that. People don't know how to play. You know, they're scared to like hardcast these high cost Digimon. But now that we are getting more experience with Mastermind, now that people are understanding how to play it into the meta decks, we are going to see more and more of Mastermind topping as we see people getting familiar with it. So it absolutely does like struggle against itself. I think Mulligans would make this deck crazy. But if you get used to it, if you learn how to pilot it, if you know when to make the difficult decisions like hardcasting and ultimate and stuff, you're going to be doing well with this deck. And it's just about building the right build as well too, you know? 1 X antibody top, and I believe this is the first X antibody top of the season within top 16. I don't see anything here in any of these others, at least for North America, I mean. But yeah, pretty standard list because there's only so much variation you can have in X antibody since they have the all those inheritable related traits, you know, their X antibody traits. You need to have the names in there. But it's really interesting that it actually ran the Kyoko Kyokyomon egg instead. A lot of people really like Doraemon for the main egg because of the draw. So it's really interesting to see they actually went with the DP bonus. I'm assuming that's the trade over stuff. But other than that, pretty standard list. Congratulations to them. We do see another Starmon, another good little rogue anti-meta deck right there. So that is a look at our meta. We see the hybrids are just so good. They're just too much value for what they offer. Imperial Dramon seems to be like by far the most popular deck and able to convert pretty well from what we're seeing of how much in top 16 it is. And then from there, we see pretty diverse format overall, though. We're seeing tons of BLStar throughout the weeks, throughout the month in the different tournaments. We see stuff like Armadillomon topping. And then we have like Lord Laimon, Ancient Greymon, Black Lord Greymon. Like, this is a pretty diverse format. I think when we look back on Digimon, this will be the GOAT format if the game goes that long, you know? That or maybe BT9. Blue Hybrids is still a good deck you should be careful and watch out for. Mastermind is gaining steam, and there's a bunch of rogue decks that are able to top between Starmon, X Antibody, and Ancient Greymon. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Let me know what changes you would like to see to the format, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.